Here's a spot I've been thinking about for a while, a wide, pleasant savanna. Let's send a great multitude of locusts into this land. Then the fire of life will grow in them and in the birds and lizards that will feed on them, and that will be very fine.
It's certainly true that if we send the locusts into this land, the fire of life will blaze in them and in the creatures that feed on them, but at the expense of all the other creatures that live there.
Yes, and?
Well, surely it would be a great crime to deprive all these other creatures of the fire of life, so that the locusts and the birds and the lizards can flourish for a time. For the locusts will strip the land bare, and the deer and the gazelles and the goats and the rabbits will go hungry and die. And with the disappearance of the game, the lions and the wolves and the foxes will soon be dying too. Won't they curse us then and call us criminals for favoring the locusts and the birds and the lizards over them?
I don't see that this presents any great problem. We simply won't do it. Then things will go on as before, and no one will have any reason to curse us.
Surely this would be as great a crime as the other. For don't the locusts and the birds and the lizards live in our hands as well as the rest? Is it never to be their time to flourish greatly, as others do?
Surely it would be a crime to let these waters flood the land, for countless creatures are bound to be carried off to their deaths.
But without the floodwaters, the ponds and marshes will dry up, and all the creatures that live in them will die.
It's clear that any action we take will be good for some and evil for others. So let's take no action at all. Then none of the creatures that live in our hands can call us criminals.
Nonsense. If we take no action at all, this will also be good for some and evil for others, won't it? The creatures that live in our hands will say, "Look, we suffer, and the gods do nothing."
We've made the garden a place of terror, and all that live in it hate us as tyrants and criminals, and they're right to do this, because by action or inaction, we send them good one day and evil the next, without knowing what we should do. Surely the whole world must curse the day we made it, for we are criminals who send good and evil by turns.
Say, didn't we make for the garden a certain tree whose fruit is the knowledge of good and evil?
Yes!
Let's find this tree and eat of it, and see what this knowledge is.
Now indeed we have the knowledge we need to tend the garden without becoming criminals and without earning the curses of all who live in our hands.
Today is the lion's day to go hungry, and the gazelle it would have taken may live another day.
Be at peace, lion, for we know how to rule the world, and today is your day to go hungry.
Be at peace, gazelle, for we know how to rule the world, and today is your day to die, just as yesterday was your day to live.
This is indeed the proper knowledge of the gods, the knowledge of who shall live and who shall die. Now here is a creature so like us that he might almost be one of our company. What span of life and what destiny shall we fashion for him?
He is so fair. Let's give him life for the lifetime of this planet. In the days of his childhood, let's care for him as we care for all others in the garden, so that he learns the sweetness of living in our hands. But in adolescence, he will surely begin to realize that he's capable of much more than other creatures and will become restless in our care. Shall we then lead him to the other tree in the garden, the tree of life?
Let's make the quest for the tree of life the occupation of his adolescence. In this way, he'll discover for himself how he may have life for the lifetime of this planet.
We should take note that this might well be a long and baffling quest for Adam. Youth is impatient, and after a few thousand years of searching, he might despair of finding the tree of life. He might be tempted to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil instead.
Nonsense. You know very well that the fruit of this tree nourishes only the gods. It can no more nourish Adam than the grasses of the oxen. Surely you don't imagine that he might actually gain our knowledge by eating of this tree?
Of course not. The danger is not that he would gain our knowledge, but rather that he might imagine that he'd gained it. Having tasted the fruit of this tree, he might say to himself, I have eaten at the God's own tree of knowledge, and therefore know as well as they how to rule the world. I may do as I will.
This is absurd. How could Adam ever be so foolish as to imagine he had the knowledge that enables us to govern the world? None of our creatures will ever be master of the knowledge of who shall live and who shall die. This knowledge is ours alone, and if Adam should grow in wisdom till the very eclipse of the universe, it would be as far beyond him as it is right now.
If Adam should eat of our tree, there's no telling how he might deceive himself. Not knowing the truth, he might say to himself, whatever I can justify doing is good, and whatever I cannot justify doing is evil.
This is not the knowledge of good and evil.
Of course it's not, but how would Adam know this? Believing himself our equal, he would be capable of anything. In his arrogance, he might look around the garden and say to himself, this is all wrong. Why should I have to share the fire of life with all these creatures? Look here, the lions and the wolves and the foxes take the game I would have for myself. This is evil. I will kill all these creatures, and this will be good. I will grow without limit, taking all the fire of life that flows through this garden into myself, and that will be good. Tell me, if this should happen, how long would Adam live before he had devoured the entire world?
If this should happen, Adam would devour the world in a single day, and at the end of that day, he would devour himself.
This would indeed be a terrible end for Adam. But might he not come to the same end, even without having eaten from the tree?
He might, but what would be the result? He would become a criminal, an outlaw, a thief of life, and a murderer of the creatures around him. Without the delusion that what he was doing was good, he would soon weary of the outlaw's life. But if he should eat of the tree of our knowledge, then he will shrug off his weariness. He will say, what does it matter that I'm weary of living as a murderer of all the life around me? I know good and evil, and this way of living is good. Therefore I must live this way, even though I'm weary unto death, even though I destroy the world and even myself. The gods wrote in the world a law for all to follow, but it cannot apply to me because I'm their equal. I will steal the fire of life from the hands of the gods and heap it up for my growth, and that will be good. I will destroy those kinds that do not serve my growth, and that will be good. And because these things are good, they must be done at any cost. It may be that I'll destroy the garden and make a ruin of it. It may be that my progeny will teem over the earth like locusts, stripping it bare until they drown in their own filth and hate the very sight of one another and go mad. Still, they must go on, because to grow without limit is good, and to accept the limits of the law is evil. And if any say, let's turn aside from our misery and search for that other tree, I will kill them, for what they say is evil. And when at last all the garden has been subjugated to my use, and all the fire of life in the world flows through my progeny, still I must grow. And when they can grow no more, the people of this land will fall upon the people of the next to murder them, so that they may grow still more. And if the groans of my progeny fill the air throughout the world, I will say to them, your sufferings must be borne, for you suffer in the cause of good. See how great we have become. Wielding the knowledge of good and evil, we have made ourselves the masters of the world, and the gods have no power over us. Though your groans fill the air, isn't it sweeter to live in our own hands than in the hands of the gods?
You may eat of every tree in the garden, except of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For on the day you eat of that tree, you will certainly die.